started. So, welcome everyone back to our group call. This is our first one of 2026. Oh, Happy New Year, Samira. Samira's put in the group Happy New Year. So, this is our first group call of 2026. And I wanted to start off with like a just nice chat mindset call, mainly about mindset, about setting you guys up for success this year, getting your minds in the right frame, and just making sure that we start the year in the best way possible. But I want this call to not be about creating unnecessary pressure. I want it to be less about pressure, just more about creating flow. And we'll talk about that more as we go throughout the call. But this is all about how to remove self-doubt and make 2026 your best year yet. I think a lot of you guys, particularly that have been in the program for a while now, some of you have been with us for over a year. I think a lot of you guys will know half of this game, when it comes to making a big physical transformation, which all of you guys want to do, I would say half, if not like 80% of it is mindset. It's all about your own headspace, how you view yourself, how you view the world, and what you think of yourself and like your self-confidence. I think all of those things are actually the biggest game changers and the biggest things that either propel you or get in the way when it does come to making a big transformation. That's why we talk so much about mindset in this game. A lot of people think that it's just calories and it's just workouts. And yes, of course, they're like big components of it. But I would say that most of it comes down to you guys having the right frame of mind and working on your mindset. So that's why we're going to start the year and the first group call of the year by doing a big mindset call. So, first things first, a transformation, a physical, a mental, emotional, all over life transformation isn't something that you wait for. It's something that you get by taking action. And that's what we're going to talk about today. So, what I want you guys to think about as we're kind of at the beginning of the year, which is a really exciting time, I think. I know the weather's pretty bitter and cold at the moment, especially I know you guys are up north and in Scotland, you guys are getting it much, much worse than Ireland. I know you're getting it a lot worse than I am down south in Kent. But it is, even though it's post-Christmas, it's got that kind of like weird atmosphere in the air for a bit. I actually think this time of year is a really great time of year, particularly if you're someone that takes their health and fitness seriously, like all of us are here. I actually think it's a really good time of year for your goals and for fitness. I want you to think it's the new year, the same you though, but fresh energy and new goals. I don't want you guys to feel like, and I think sometimes we get this pressure from when we set goals for the new year, New Year's resolution, the whole New Year, New Me thing. You guys know how I feel about that. I sometimes think that that creates too much pressure and it actually becomes a bit more of a hindrance than it does more of a help. Thinking that, oh, I've got to set the most crazy resolutions ever. I've got to set my bar like so high for my goals and I've got to overhaul everything. I've got to overhaul my whole life. I actually think that New Year's resolutions and that pressure can be a bit more of a hindrance sometimes than it actually is something beneficial. So I want you guys to remember that yes, it's a new year, but it is the same you. You don't have to overhaul everything. You don't need to suddenly dramatically transform everything in your life at all. You do not have to do that and overhaul everything overnight. I just want you to think it's a fresh energy and it's new goals. I want you guys to remember the goals that we have all set together. Either I have set them with you or Adam has set them with you, whoever your main coach is. But I want you to really remember the goals that you've set. We got you all to fill out a goal setting form last month. So remembering that, but also we've been talking to you guys a lot this week about what the goals are going to be for you guys for the next few weeks ahead, especially because it's good to have a long-term goal, but it's also good to have short-term goals so that you have something to work to closer in time frame. Sometimes if we have a goal that's like a year or 2 years away, it feels unattainable and so far away that it can be a bit disheartening. So we want shorter goals, but I want you guys to really remember these for the month ahead and remember those goals. They're clear, they're focused, and they're going to help push you forward. And sometimes what is missing is just having someone to be like, what's the goal going to be? What are we going to push towards? And I want you to really keep these in mind as you go throughout January. But like I said, this talk is not about creating unnecessary pressure, like the whole New Year's resolution, New Year, New Me thing. It's not inherently a bad thing, but I don't want you guys to come away from this call feeling like, oh, I've now got to suddenly overhaul my entire life and everything has to change. That's not the way to make sustainable change. It's not the way to create long-term change. And it's also not fun, feeling like you have to overhaul everything and change everything about yourself and change everything about your life. You don't have to do that at all. So this talk isn't about that. It's about less about pressure and more just about creating flow and giving you guys a really clear focus. So talking about self-doubt particularly, which is kind of like the main theme of this talk, what self-doubt actually sounds like. It shows up a lot and maybe more often than we even care to admit. But it always shows up and it gives us these thoughts, such as just picking some examples. What if I mess it up again this year? What I've tried before and it didn't work, so why is it going to work this time? Other people are better at this than me. I don't trust myself to stay consistent. This is what it manifests, and these thoughts are what we often have as we go about our daily lives because often we're really hard on ourselves. But having a bit of self-doubt isn't inherently a bad thing. It doesn't mean you can't do this. It just means that you've probably been disappointed before and maybe you've tried some things and they haven't worked. So where it comes from, it's learned. It's not something we're innately born with. It's something that we learn throughout time. It can come from things like maybe past attempts that didn't go to plan. You guys that are on the program, maybe you've tried lots of other things to lose weight and to transform your health before joining us. Maybe they went okay and didn't last, or maybe they never went well. There's lots of things that you might have tried that maybe didn't go so well. And that a lot of self-doubt can come from that because you might have tried things before and felt like they hadn't worked. It also comes from just setting really unrealistic expectations. I'm not saying play it safe and never set like really exciting big goals for yourself, but there does come a limit where sometimes we set goals that are just like way too far away or way too extreme and they are just really unattainable. And when we don't hit them, which is inevitable, it feels disheartening. The all or nothing thinking as well. So that feeling of if you're not doing something absolutely 150% all the time and not doing things 100% perfectly, there's no point doing it at all. That thinking gets in the way so much and creates self-doubt and create and basically ruins progress. It's about trying to shed that perfectionist mindset and trying to have a bit more of an abundant mindset and not strive for perfection. The final thing as well is just comparing your chapter 1 to someone else's chapter 20. And this is something that is really prevalent not just in the program, but in life. Like quite often, I notice that you guys are comparing yourself to somebody else that is like a lot further ahead of you in your journey, just because they've been doing it for a long time or they've been doing it longer. Just because you're starting at chapter 1 doesn't mean you're never going to be that person. But comparing yourself at chapter 1 to someone that's on chapter 20 is just going to set you up for self-doubt and it's just going to set yourself up for maybe thinking you're not doing enough and all that sort of stuff. Because how on earth could you compare someone that's been maybe training in the gym for like 5 years and you're on day one? It's pretty crazy if you think about it in that way. But none of this means you're incapable. And like having this self-doubt doesn't mean you're incapable. It just means you're a human being. It's just kind of how we're wired, unfortunately. But there's things that we can do to change that. The next thing I want to talk about is just the anxiety of change as well. I've talked to you guys about this before, but this is a psychological term. And I've been to talks with mindset coaches, like really top level elite mindset coaches and life coaches who have talked about this, and I think it's fascinating. This is also something that we tend to really struggle with a lot as people. Even when it's positive change, even when we're doing something, let's say, for example, trying to lose weight, joining this program, going to the gym, whatever it might be, even when we know it's change that's good for us, change inherently creates anxiety. And that's where the term anxiety of change comes from. That is because it's your brain essentially trying to keep you safe. It goes all the way back from when we lived in caves and we were dealing with immediate threats to our lives and trying to keep safe and trying to keep away from predators. It's essentially your brain trying to keep you comfortable. So your brain inherently, because of evolution, prefers familiar habits, predictable routines, and it prefers comfort over growth. That's why when your alarm goes off in the morning at the moment and it's dark outside, it's icy or it's raining, even though you know getting up and going to the gym is the thing you need to do and the thing that is going to make you feel better, your bed suddenly just feels 10 times comfier and it's harder to get out of bed. It's because your brain and you are actively seeking comfort, and that's how we're wired. Because of that, when we do try to change, your brain pushes back. The doubt gets louder in your mind, and discomfort feels threatening, even when we know it's a good thing. There's one side of our brain. I sometimes swear I feel like I can feel the two sides of my brain battling against each other. There's like one side of your brain that feels like it knows it's the right thing to do. It knows that what you're going to do isn't going to be that scary. But then the other side of the brain takes over, which makes it feel threatening, even when you know that it is something positive and you know it's a good thing. But this feeling is just a sign of change and growth. Now that we're like, we're fully evolved, we don't have immediate threats to our lives on the daily basis anymore. That feeling is normal, but it's about acknowledging that and just saying, oh, I'm feeling a little bit anxious, but that's not actually inherently a bad thing. That's just a little bit of self-doubt creeping in because it's my brain just trying to keep me safe. And that is something really important to remember as you guys go on this journey and set really big goals for yourself. If you have those nerves or a little bit of anxiety or a bit of fear come in, just remember that it's normal, it's a human response. but it's your brain basically pushing back and just trying to keep you comfortable and trying to keep you safe. So sometimes it's just about acknowledging that and being willing to override that. But that's also a part of self-doubt. But anxiety doesn't mean that you're going in the wrong direction. Like we talked about just then with the anxiety of change, feeling anxious or feeling nervous does not mean that you're failing, that you're not ready, and that you should stop what you're doing. It actually means something totally different. What it means instead, in terms of this process, is that you are doing something new. You're pushing yourself out your comfort zone. You are challenging old patterns, old beliefs, old mindset habits that have maybe kept you back. Growth always feels uncomfortable before it starts to feel empowering. That is a big thing that I want you guys to really remember as we go forward in 2026 and as we start this new year. Growth will always feel uncomfortable before it starts to feel comfortable. That's normal. And that's kind of what you have to go through if you want to really achieve something big and achieve something great, which I know all of you guys do. Once you push past that, it then starts to feel pretty good and it starts to feel empowering. But it's really important to know that and kind of know how your brain works. But the biggest lie about self-confidence as well is that you need to feel confident before you start something. This mindset or this held belief keeps so many people stuck. So many. It's the complete opposite. Confidence is something that you're born with. Confidence isn't just waiting to feel motivated, it is evidence. And evidence only comes from taking action. So your confidence grows when you follow through and do what you said you would do. You keep your promises to yourself. You show up even when you feel a bit nervous, you feel a bit doubtful, you feel a bit unsure, and you keep all those small promises to yourself. It's action. Action is the thing that eliminates self-doubt or helps you to get better at dealing with self-doubt. And it's what builds confidence. It's not about waiting to feel it, it's about being willing to take the action to fight despite feeling a bit scared and then feeling confident and not feeling doubtful afterwards. Proof, so action builds proof, proof builds trust, and trust builds confidence. The self-doubt loop as well. Self-doubt is when you say to yourself, oh, I don't know if I can do this. I don't trust myself. So what you do instead is you hesitate, you overthink, you delay starting. That delay reinforces more self-doubt, and then that loop continues. And that can be a frustrating place to be in. But I want you guys to all know that it's very normal, especially if you're someone that's a bit more at the start of your journey in this program. You guys are obviously at all different phases, different chapters. But this is kind of how the self-doubt loop works. But the only way out of that self-doubt loop is to take action. That is the only way out. So breaking the loop with proof. You don't have to have a huge win to break the loop. You just need consistent proof. You need to stack up undeniable evidence that you follow through on the promises that you make to yourself. So that looks like, for example, one completed workout, one planned meal that you've followed through with and tracked, one full week of showing up, getting your check-in done, and one moment where you didn't quit, one moment where things got tough. You knew you needed to go to the gym, for example. You knew you needed to go out and get some steps in, and you didn't feel like it, but you just did it anyway. That is how your self-trust is built, and that is how you break the self-doubt loop. Your goals should feel a bit scary. Now, I know I said at the start of this call, if you set goals that are crazy unrealistic and crazy unattainable, it's undeniable that you won't achieve them, and that makes you lose confidence. Yes, I've said that, but on the flip side, when it comes to setting goals for the year and you guys really thinking about what you want to achieve, your goals should still feel a bit scary. They should be, yes, attainable, realistic, not saying, oh, I want to lose 30 kg in a month. That's obviously completely insane and that's completely unrealistic. Or saying, I've never run a day in my life. I want to run a marathon by February. That's also pretty crazy. But still, even so, it should still be something that's realistic, but it should be something that's just on the verge of, oh my God, can I actually do that? Oh my God, that feels a bit scary. Could I actually get there by the end of Jan or the end of February, whatever it might be? If your goal feels completely safe and you're like 100% certain you'll achieve it, that goal probably is a little bit too small. It should feel slightly scary and very on the verge. It should feel like, can I actually do this? This feels a little bit uncomfortable. Imagine if I actually pulled this off. If you get that feeling, you kind of get like maybe a slight little bit of nerves. Doing it is something you can see yourself doing, but it does feel slightly scary. That's the zone you want to be in when you're thinking about where you want to get to over the course of this year, because that is where growth lives. If we play it too safe, if we stay comfortable, we don't grow. We have to go slightly out of our comfort zone and being willing to do that. And that's where growth lives. And I want you to think about dreaming bigger than your comfort zone as well. And that applies to anything you ever do in life as well. Like here, obviously, we're talking about your health and your fitness, but this applies to anything in life when you have those big decisions. But I want you to dream bigger than your comfort zone. You'd never grow by aiming for easy and aiming for level one. You grow by backing yourself properly, setting goals that feel slightly scary, but backing yourself 100% and showing up and being the person that follows through and does the stuff that they say that they're going to do. 2026 is not the year to play small. And I never want you guys to do that. I never want you guys to shrink yourselves and think that you're going to downplay. It's the year to raise your standards, believe in your potential and believe in yourself, and act like the person you want to become. I really love this analogy, but I want you guys to think about that dream version of you. Let's say that you're standing on a river. You now are on one side of the river. There's a river with no way across, and there's the dream version of you on the other side. To get to that person, I want you guys to really think about that dream version of you, whatever they look like, however they behave, whatever mindset they have, anything, not just physical, but like in all aspects. That person that's on the other side of the river, if you had to think about that dream version of you that takes decisions and takes action like you want to, it's about acting like that person on the other side of the river that you want to become. And that's a really good thing to think of. So when you have those moments, as you 100% will when you go throughout this process, you're always going to have moments where self-doubt creeps in. You maybe feel like giving up. The voice in your head gets quite loud. The anxiety of change kicks in. I want you to really think about that dream version of me that's on the other side of the river that I always think about that I want to get to. What would they do in this moment? What would that person do? Every time it's going to be that person would take action, even though they feel a bit scared. That person would reach out for help if they're feeling a bit stuck, or that person would just do something, even if it's not 100% of what I normally do. It's just about doing something. Act like the person you want to become and really think of that dream version of you that is on the other side of the metaphorical river. And you don't need to have like 100% certainty to do this. You just need a little bit of courage. One thing I really want to make clear though is you guys do not have to have the perfect year to get your goals and to get to that dream version of you. 2026 does not need to be perfect. Neither did 2025, neither did 2024, neither will 2027. You'll never, ever, ever need to be perfect. What you need to think instead is ditching that all or nothing way of thinking that, oh, if it's not 100% perfect, there's no point in me showing up. You need to shed that mindset, put it in a box, put it to the side, and instead really come from a more abundant mindset and start to just think about being really consistent. Real progress comes from getting back on track quickly after you have a setback, not spiraling after one setback, and focusing on just trying to be consistent 100% of the time and just not trying to be perfect 10% of the time. Being perfect for 3 days out of your month and it being completely unattainable and then spiraling and doing nothing for the rest of the month will not get you results. But what will instead is just trying to be consistent and focusing for 80% perfection rather than 100%. That consistency over time, over a longer period of time, will get you such better results than the other way of thinking, which is not helpful. That is how change actually sticks. What I want you guys to do is I want you to stop asking yourself, can I do this? And that applies to this week, but it also applies to the whole of this year. And this is an intention I really want to set for you. Stop asking yourself, can I do this? Better questions to ask yourself when you start to notice yourself asking this. What's the next small action that I can take? What would future me do today or do right now in this moment? How can I show myself that I'm reliable and that I show up? Confidence grows when you stop questioning yourself and you just start backing yourself and taking action. So, the identity shift for 2026, and I want you guys to really remember this, the person that you're becoming and the person that you want to become, that dream version of you, doesn't wait for motivation, doesn't quit after a hard week, and trusts themselves to come back. I put trust herself, but I meant themselves, all genders included. Trust themselves to come back. Identity, self-confidence, and removing self-doubt is built through behavior and is built through action. I want you guys to really remember that. Shed perfection and just try to be as consistent as possible. What's going to make 2026 different for you guys, and what's going to make sure that you guys achieve all your hopes and dreams and get exactly to where you want to be? It's not extremes. It is not perfection. It's just setting standards for yourself. And your standards have to become, I don't quit on myself. I don't disappear when it's hard. I follow the plan more often than not. That mindset alone, if you can start to remove the pressure of feeling like you have to be totally perfect and start to just follow through on those things, that mindset alone will change everything and will give you such better results. Like I said, 80% of this game is mindset. So if you can start to shed that and really focus on that, that will make a huge difference for you. Not only will it really change your results, but you will enjoy this process a lot more as well. Like, yes, of course, there's tough moments on this journey. I always say this process of transformation on paper is simple, but it is not easy. It is not easy. But what does make it slightly easier is even if you have hard moments and even if you don't enjoy all of the process, if you do try to find enjoyment in the little things and you try to find enjoyment in the process as much as you can and you shed a bit of pressure and just try to create a bit more flow by doing these things, you will end up enjoying the process so much more. And that's also really important. Yes, we want you guys to get results, but we do also want you guys to like enjoy what you're doing and enjoy taking care of your health as well. Because if you don't enjoy it, you're not going to want to stick at it long term. My final thought that I want to leave you guys with before we wrap up this call, you do not need to find more motivation. You do not need more willpower, whatever that means. You don't need an entire new personality and you don't need to overhaul your entire life overnight to have success this year. What you need to do is just take action, no matter how small, and trust the version of you that just keeps showing up again and again, that never gets knocked down and that keeps going. I want you guys to remember that. And final thing I want to say is let's do this. This is a really exciting time of year. Um, I know that it's a bit miserable with the weather and a lot of people are kind of like a bit down after Christmas and that sort of stuff, but I actually really enjoy January and I always try to really enjoy January and flip the mindset with that as much as possible. You guys, now that Christmas is done, New Year is done, you guys have got a lot more time and a lot more space to keep prioritizing yourself. People generally tend to be like less busy over January and February after Christmas. So this is actually a really good time for you guys to lock in and really put yourselves first and make some amazing progress. So even if like January is typically what the most like depressing month of the year, everyone says, I actually try to flip that on its head and think that this can be a really great month in lots of different ways, and it will be for you guys as well. That is everything I wanted to go through you guys with this week. I hope that all of you listening to this, whether you're here live right now or you're listening back to this on YouTube, I hope that you're feeling really fired up for the year. That was my aim for you for this call, and I hope you feel like you can shift your mindset a little bit to a more abundant one, which will therefore bring you more results, more enjoyment, less pressure, more flow. I'm gonna let you guys all go. I will check in with you all very shortly. But well done, guys, and I'm fired up for this year, and I hope you are too.